It is so important, and it's going to become more and more important, and there'll be new technologies coming in. We're going to keep talking about it on this particular podcast. So I want to share with you some thoughts, some ideas, some inspiration that other people have also shared with me in terms of how can we use AI to grow our business. You know, your management, your operations, look at anything, and particularly look at tasks that need to be done that are repetitive, look at tasks that are data-driven or require a lot of real-time decision-making. So how could that be done a little bit better? Hi, everybody. Welcome to Grow Your Business podcast. I'm Shivani Gupta. I'm your host. I am sure that on this next particular topic, I'm going to be talking to you about this topic over and over and over again. And it is called How to Use AI to Grow Your Business. It is so important, and it's going to become more and more important, and there'll be new technologies coming in. We're going to keep talking about it on this particular podcast. So I want to share with you some thoughts, some ideas, some inspiration that other people have also shared with me in terms of how can we use AI to grow our business. And for those of you that are already on the path, fantastic, great. And again, my wishes and my intentions always that somebody picks up one or two different ideas out of anything that I do, whether it's speaking, whether it's podcasting, whether it's coaching, whatever it may be. So the first thing is you've got to actually start identifying some areas for AI integration. Well, what does that mean? Well, what that means is you want to actually look at all the different aspects of your business. I guess when you're drawing up a little process map, or you're saying, well, here are the different steps that we actually need to be able to take. What is it that could be done by, what could not? And I would leave any stone unturned. I would look at customer service, you'd look at your marketing, your sales, your supply chains, your management, your operations, look at anything, and particularly look at tasks that need to be done that are repetitive, look at tasks that are data-driven or require a lot of real-time decision-making. So how could that be done a little bit better? The second is that one of the things we need to do as business owners and leaders is we need to actually invest in some AI and training and upskilling. There are so many different apps and areas that are now branching off. There are now over 1,000, the way that a futurist explained this to me, in terms of different elements and arms of AI, and that's going to keep growing exponentially. So how do we do that? How do we equip our people so that they've got the necessary skills to be able to leverage these tools? So we need to look at some workshops. We need to look at what's actually available. You need to have somebody in the team or a consultant or somebody that you're consulting with, and that's actually looking at what courses might be available, what training sessions might be available, and you want to make sure that your people stay relevant, that they are looking at all the different parts of AI applications and how do they create a culture of innovation and that continuous learning. One of the podcasts I did was on chapter 5 of my book, which is Shoshin Mentality. How do we actually have an open heart and an open mind? Now, the other area that we really need to look at, how do we leverage AI, is really for customer insights. So how do we get a better understanding of who our avatar is? How do we actually understand what our customers' behavior and their preferences are? Now, as a business leader and owner, you might actually say, my customer are my employees. There is a saying that I've always believed, that if I take care of my people, which is my employees, they'll take care of our people, which is our customers. So whether it's your people or whether it's the customers that are actually interacting with your business, how do we actually use AI and data and that those analytics to actually help us tailor, for example, the way that you do marketing campaigns, the way that you personalize that customer experience, or how do you develop products and services that specifically meet your customers' needs? And the other area that you really want to look at is how do you automate routine tasks? So, for example, what are, again, the repetitive and the handle routine stuff? And that could be things like data entry, right? A lot of those roles, fortunately or unfortunately, are going to disappear. Also, for example, customer support and processing orders. A lot of that stuff will be able to be done at a fraction of the cost and with very little or no error in the future. So how do we actually free our people, not necessarily to get rid of them, but how do we create them and move them from doing things that are very routine to doing things that are more strategic, from doing things to doing things that are more value adding, to actually look at how we can improve either our productivity or our efficiency or effectiveness in terms of what we are actually doing. And when you go, yes, that can be outsourced, the parts that are left there, how can we do that better with our people as well? You can also start to use AI for predictive analysis. Well, what does predictive analysis mean? It's basically looking at the algorithms and analyzing some of the historical data that might be there to work out what some of your future trends are. So you can actually help that, depending on the type of business. You can look at your forecasting in the future. You can use that for your inventory. So you can look at ways that you could reduce your costs or increase and leverage other aspects of your business and use some of that predictive analysis, because that can also help you work out what your potential market opportunities are and allow you to also make a lot more data-driven decisions as well. The next thing I want to talk about is cybersecurity. Again, I'm not an expert at this. This is some of the stuff that people who are experts in this are sharing this with me. One of the things that's going to happen with AI, the more you implement it, is we're going to have cybersecurity solutions. It's going to be one of the fastest growing and continuing to grow industries, because there's going to be more cyber threats in terms of data, and the more stuff that we have out in the cloud, the more stuff that is, having by how do we prevent from people being able to hack into all of that? We've already seen certain breaches, often for larger businesses, but it's also going to happen to small to medium businesses as well. So how do we actually enhance our cybersecurity, make sure that what we've got in our data is actually really safe, and how do we protect some of that? We can also implement AI in the sales and marketing. So for example, there's a lot of things when you've got things about scoring, or you're looking at customer segmentation, or you're looking at personalized email campaigns and pricing. How could we actually utilize a lot of that to have increased revenue? How do we actually have that, also in our supply chain in terms of what we can create? We also need to measure what the return on investment of AI is, or our ROI is on that as well. And how do we do that from that? For example, we might look at the impact that AI has had on productivity. You want to measure that so you can see, okay, well, we had 12 people working on that particular part of that business. Now we've got 3, but what we've been able to do is redeploy the 9 people into doing those other tasks, for example. So what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to measure your ROI. You want to have a look at what the cost savings that might have been. You want to look at, for example, has the customer satisfaction gone up? If the customer satisfaction's gone down, then you know what, maybe some of that's not working. Maybe we need to add one person back in, or we need to add part of the processes in that it's actually dealt by a human and a person. So really looking at measuring, and anything that's not measured, we don't know whether it's been successful, and we also don't know if it's been unsuccessful. So if you're going to put AI in, how do we actually have an ROI on that, and really think about what that means for your business? And the last thing I wanted to really talk about is how do we actually have a data-driven culture? And an AI-based culture, because that's where it's headed. Because some people are great, some people go, great, this is absolutely the part of it. Other people are very resistant to that. So how can we help them gain some insights? How can we say to them, it's not about people losing roles, but it's about getting them to do more meaningful, more strategic, more value-driven tasks, which is actually going to be more fun and more, work that better. But we need to create a culture of that and talk to people about the fact that things are going to constantly be moving and growing. And for us to be able to grow our businesses as business leaders and owners, we need our people to be a lot more open-minded, to come up with great ideas, to keep learning, to look at the impact that we can have, and how do we stop being fearful, for example, as part of our culture about AI, and how do we embrace that? So here are just some of the tips that people have been sharing with me. As I said, there'll be many more podcasts on this particular topic. I'm also really interested in bringing some experts on this topic onto this particular podcast. As always, I would love if you could take a moment to rate and review this podcast on Apple. And I always appreciate that. Thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to continuing to share with you some insights, ideas, thought leaders who can help you grow your business. I'm Shivani Gupta, and you've been listening to the Grow Your Business podcast. I hope you got one idea that you can think about, or perhaps even implement straight away in your business. Thank you for listening. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn under Ask Shivani. Remember, I call it Ask Shivani, so please send me your questions that I can address in this podcast for you. And I would also so appreciate if you went to the Apple Podcast to rate and review this podcast.